You are watching Xirtus.
Only time is now. Well, when you like, we can just get into the things. And also, of course, we can add in, there's a few things I'll just have you talk about because I don't know enough about it. Even the recent InfoWars things going on, which is insane. But I
Yeah,
guess
it's
we
pretty
can just
wild.
start and we'll get into it one by one.
Well, I mean, we could talk about that. So Jamie White was a guy who died about 10 days ago, and I had known a bit, but I wasn't, too. I haven't talked to him in several years, but he was a InfoWars employee. It's really sad, and my love goes out to his family and all of the friends who knew him because it's just crazy. Like it's usually like the most innocent people that seem to get caught in this horrible crossfire. People that are altruistic, fight for their beliefs and things like that. But this guy wasn't like a fighter in a bad way. He was just like a researcher doing research. So I don't know how big of a conspiracy that this is. I'm just saying that Jamie died, and it's a real sad, sad story. And so, what happened after that was even worse. So people like Owen Shroyer, and one of the arguably, like, he's pretty myopic and headstrong, but like he's a good guy, like I love Owen, and he went to jail for January 6th, so he puts his money where his mouth is, and you could look into him a bit more, see what you think. I like him a lot. He ended up being swatted, something that's happened to me in the past, and I think being swatted is pretty terrible. I didn't like it, and it was pretty dangerous. It happened to us multiple times. Timcast, had all these swattings happen, even to the point where after I left, it continued on for a while. Owen just got swatted. He was on the ground. He had to take off his shirt in the middle of the night. He's outside. His wife and kids are being with guns put in their face. They're going around the house because the claim was that when you do a swatting, when one does a swatting, they accuse you of doing some horrible things. So the police have to come, go through your house, tear up everything. Luckily, one of the officers, this was in Texas, so one of the officers clearly watched InfoWars, and he's like, "I think I recognize this guy."
Yeah, I heard
I,
what Owen said. I saw the blip from the show, yeah.
yeah, okay, so you saw that. So, luckily he didn't get. I think that helped in some respect, and but then there were pizzas being ordered. There's not just him. Chase Geiser got swatted as well, and there's been a number of other people that were swatted. I saw that Chase put up a question mark for the FBI. He said, "Why is the FBI spying on Infowars under a Type 3 assessment while our employees are getting murdered and swatted?" And he's like hoping that this will eventually come to some sort of a conclusion, and we'll figure out what's going on. And who only knows what's really going to happen, but it's a crazy bummer. They're not only are they swatting them afterwards, pizzas are being ordered to their houses in the name of Jamie White. So they're like warning them more and more. And it's interesting that they're using pizza as the tool to warn them. It's like some weird mafia trick with a dead fish being brought to you in the morning, like wrapped in newspaper. Tonight you'll sleep with the fishes, but weirder because it's Pizzagate stuff. It's like that's just I don't know. And to use Jamie's name, it's like, how dark is this world now? Granted, people are putting up websites to figure out people who own Teslas so they can blow up their cars and their homes. Domestic terrorism is at some sort of a new vogue in America. I saw that on the Daily Show with what used to be Jon Stewart, but whoever the heck this NPC is now. The Daily Show, they were talking about the blowing up of Teslas, and the audience is just cheering and laughing. And he says, "Well, apparently you guys are all into acts of domestic terrorism," and they all just go, "Woo, yeah!" So that's the new normal.
Well, how should I say, as much as I would not necessarily advise anybody to get a Tesla, starting from the potential electromagnetic impulses emanating from all
Right.
of these things and all
That's
of
the
that.
irony. I think
But
most of the people who bought Teslas are actually like leftists who still have them from when they thought Elon Musk was on their side. Like a lot of the people who have Teslas aren't the conservatives. It's like 5 years ago, like I know in Dresden, there are like 5 Teslas blew up, but they're not Cybertrucks from the Republican period. They're the Model S's and things that some leftist thought would stop oil money. Ironic in Germany because they're still using oil to make the power for the Teslas there. They don't have nuclear anymore. So you're paying for Russian gas through Romania because you can't buy the Russian gas from the Russians, but they need the Russian oil. So they go to the Romanians or just other Europeans who are doing a front, and they're just like, it's like laundering, you know? That way the Germans are paying twice the value or twice the price as anyone else in the world to keep their light bulbs running. So you just turn off your lights all day.
Well, it's similar for Austria and I guess a few other countries, but in any case, it's pretty clear. And how should I say? It's always the question, you know, on to which extent is there a real opposition within government, and to what extent are they deliberately letting things happen, you know, to rile people up further. But I want to say in any somewhat Western country with, you know, telecommunications coverage and all of that, you cannot possibly tell me that these things could happen without some part of, let's call it a rogue element of the administration or whatever, collaborating with that. That is the one thing. And the other thing, you really want to tell me they don't have databases of, let's say, known hosts and popular Twitch streamers or whatever it would be, that anytime they get such a call, it first gets referenced back, and then, you know, you get a blip. AI could do that by now even, and be like, oh, this guy is very conservative or very liberal stance, whatever, this and that, so that whenever the SWAT team arrives, they would have some clue of what may be going on, and maybe some way to resolve that a lot quicker than to go through the whole spiel they have to do. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm thinking like this has to be on purpose in some way, shape, or form, or allowed to happen. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I forget the name. It was Doge Quest is the name of the website for finding people that have Teslas. Doge Quest. So I feel like, I mean, the other thing is, it's over a period of time, things change. So you have to be more and more extreme to be against the mainstream narrative, because the mainstream narrative is becoming more and more inclusive. So at a certain point, if you want to be against the party of Abraham Lincoln that freed the slaves, you know, again, it's going to become more and more Disney inclusive as a description. Then you have to become a domestic terrorist. And that's going to be, I thought that would be harder for people. But I mean, apparently a lot of people are willing to go that mile to become the worst people they can be, because that's the way that they define themselves, as not part of this other group. I mean, it's identity politics to the greatest manipulation.
So because we've looked at Laowai 86, I think, and this whole, you know, China show being not banned, how do you say it, shadow banned or whatever, and all of that going on, what they like to talk about in regards to China, they call it not deconstruction, but they have some type of a word, like, you know, deliberately destroying property. I don't know, I almost want to say due to mental illness, or due to the idea that, you know, the state and everything is bad, and then people even, you know, trash shops or trash their own place or something like that. I don't know how widespread that really is, but just this general idea also reminds me back to the protests you had in the US, which were also obviously allowed to happen, where then they were setting fires to shops and all of this. So I'm like,
riots, like
how
Compton
does
riots,
anyone possibly believe that this would benefit anyone except maybe some insurances, and put some people in danger that most likely have little to do with the actual agenda, other than having been suckered into, for example, buying a Tesla for an overpriced price and too little support or whatever. So